Hey, what is up guys? Eric Thane here from Cinema Mastery and welcome to today's video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about lighting. So basically what I want to do today is go through some of my favorite lights that I use on pretty much every single shoot and what my lighting kit looks like in terms of the gear that I own. Now, I'll just put this out there just to start off with one caveat. I don't own a lot of lighting equipment. I don't own a lot of gear in general as a filmmaker. I basically have like kind of the essential pieces of kit that I need in order to shoot YouTube videos or to create content online, that kind of stuff. And then just like a few pieces, a few other things that I know that I use like on every single shoot, no matter what. And so I only own a few things, and those few things allow me to tackle a lot of like most of the situations that I'm handling. But when I go into a client shoot or a bigger budget production, I'm typically renting all of the gear. And the reason why I do that, and one of the reasons why I do that, is because when it comes to shooting like bigger budget production stuff, when you're dealing with a lot of different scenarios, you really just need to have like pretty much everything, if you will. It's like Hollywood movies or big commercials. You'll notice that they show up with like big semis just packed with tons of grip gear and lights and all sorts of camera gear. It's because like they basically just want to be able to handle anything that gets thrown at them. So anything that the shoot throws at you, you'll be able to take care of it. You'll be able to handle it with the gear that you have. And so that's one of the reasons why it's really important to just rent gear for these client shoots and bigger productions when you need them. And then maybe just own a few pieces of gear if you're a content creator or you're creating stuff at home in your home studio, or if there's specific things that you find yourself using all the time on every single shoot, then sometimes it makes sense to own those pieces of gear because in the long run, it's going to be cheaper, more efficient to just own them rather than paying the rental fee and having to go pick them up all the time. So with that being said, let's talk about the three different types of lights that I own that are some of my favorite lights that I use on pretty much every single shoot. So the first light that I use all the time is an LED spotlight. Now these have become my workhorse lights that I use for so much. Some of my favorite ones are like the Aputure lights, so the Aputure 120D or 300D, but they even have like the cheaper ones now. They're like the 200D for content creators that are still really, really good. But those Aputure spotlights, those LED spotlights are really like the workhorses of my workflow. Now they're not technically spotlights, even though you can add on like a spotlight fixture onto the front of it in order to make it a spotlight. But what I'm just talking about is just like a really good, bright, accurate, color accurate LED light that you can use for most things. So I use these for my main key light in most situations. I'll use them for backlights. I'll use them for background lights. It's just kind of like the main light that I'm using to light my subject, light up the background, give them a little bit of rim light, kind of go through the whole thing. That's the light that I'm using for pretty much everything. If you look at me right now, I'm being lit by the Aputure 120D with the light dome. And that's the really cool thing about them, is that they're so bright and so powerful that it makes them really versatile, and they have all these attachments that you can put on front of them. So I can put a softbox in the front of it or a light dome in front of it, and I can turn it into a really soft light. Or sometimes what I'll do is I'll take that softbox and put it on there, and then I'll pass it through like an 8x8 silk to make it even softer. So like that's what I like to do with interviews and such. So there's just a lot of different things you can do with them, and you can get lots of different types of looks, whether you need really hard light to blast through a window or something like that, or if you need a really soft, flattering light for an interview or for a key light on your subject. The second type of light that you'll see me using all the time is a tube light. Now, the ones that I own are the Quasar tubes, and so I've been a user of Quasar tubes for a long time, and I've got a couple of the 4-foot bi-color ones that allow you to change the color temperature from tungsten to daylight. And I really love these lights because they give you a different type of look that you really can't get from any other type of light. Now, back when I was getting started, it was always Quasars, like that's what everybody was using. And over the years, I know there's new brands that have come up, like the Astera Titan tubes or some other brands as well that are creating these types of like tube lights. They even have multicolor ones now, so you can change the color on them, which is really nice. But basically what it gives you is a really nice like fluorescent tube shaped light that you can use in a lot of different situations. when I was starting out, we were using Kino flows, and those were a little bit more difficult because you had to plug them into a ballast and you had to carry the whole fixture around, and it was just this big, long process, but that was all we had. And so when things went to LED and the quasars came out and other like LED type tubes came out, these became a huge part of my workflow just because they're so versatile in so many different scenarios. The really interesting thing about tube lights is that because of their shape, they produce a light that's different from anything else you can find out there. So when you rig a tube light horizontally, for example, on a C-stand or a light stand or something, so the light's going like this horizontally, well, as we've talked about in other videos, the bigger your light source, the softer it's going to be. So if you have a large light source close to your subject, you're going to have a really soft light. But if it's a small light source or it's a light that's really far away from your subject, you're going to have a harder source. Well, the interesting thing about these tube lights is that they are really large in one direction, but then really small going the other direction. So if you have it rigged horizontally, you get a really unique light that'll be really soft on the horizontal axis, but then really hard on the vertical axis. So you can use a tube light as a key light, just get it really close to your subject, and you get this really interesting light where there's nice soft light going horizontally and then really harsh light going vertically, which just looks unlike anything else out there. The other thing that I really like about tube lights is that they look really good in the shot. So this can be done artistically and stylistically, like if you're shooting a music video and you want to line up the tube lights in the background to create some sort of abstract element or shape or something like that. They look really cool like that. They're kind of like lightsabers just in the background of the shot. Or if you want to use them as like replacements to motivate fluorescent fixtures, they look exactly like a fluorescent tube. And so in a lot of situations, I've shot videos where I end up putting them in the background and will either hang them from the ceiling or put them on a C-stand or something up high. And when you see them in the background, it just looks like there's a fluorescent light hanging from the ceiling. And so it looks natural and motivated. And yet you don't have to deal with the weird green cast that you're going to get from fluorescent lights typically. And you get a really good, nice, color accurate light that's also really bright. And you can control the color temperature of it. So the third and final type of light that I'm using all the time is a practical bulb. Now there's different types of practical bulbs that you can get out there, but this is a must-have for every videographer's toolkit. If you're familiar with my work and you've followed me for any amount of time, you probably noticed that I like to use practicals and lamps and other types of lights in my shots in order to make them more interesting. In fact, it's one of the quickest tips that I have for lighting for making your scenes look more interesting and getting those little pockets of light here and there in the background that create contrast between light and shadow and just create more interest in your scene. So you definitely want to have practical bulbs in your toolkit. Now, most of the bulbs that you're going to find in lamps and other fixtures are usually, especially nowadays, going to be LED lights, and they're not going to be really high quality LEDs, which means that when you turn them on, you start using them, you'll start to notice that there's kind of a green cast in the image, usually is what you get. Now, to avoid getting that green cast, there's a couple ways you can go. So what I used to use when I was getting started out was a couple of different things. Either one, I would get like a tungsten incandescent type bulb, just like a regular Edison bulb, but with the filament in it. Those bulbs are actually really highly color accurate because they're just incandescent, right? They're not being recreated. And so you can get a really nice quality of light with those. And so if you're in a pinch and you need to get something like that, you can just go to the hardware store and pick one of those up. However, those are getting a little bit harder to find since everything is going LED, and you don't get a lot of versatility with them. You can't really change the color temperature except for, when you dim it, you can make it a little bit more orange, but you can't really, change it to whatever color you want. Now, more recently, I came across the Aputure B7C, which is actually an LED digital light that you can use as a practical bulb, and these are super cool. So what you can do with the B7C is you can put it inside of a lamp, and then you can control it using the app and change the color of it to get whatever color you want. It's not just color temperature control, but you can actually make it any color you want, which gives you so much versatility for how you create your scene and how you craft your look using the practicals in your scene. So I highly recommend checking those out. So there you go. There's the 3 lights that I believe are must must-haves for every filmmaker, and every filmmaker should have these in their kit. They're some of my favorite lights that I use on pretty much every shoot, and then I use them, around for creating content and doing all sorts of stuff. So I definitely recommend those 3 types of lights. Now, if you're a filmmaker and you want to learn more about lighting and not just the gear that you need, because that's the first part of the equation, but then knowing how to use the gear is really what's going to make your work go from where it's at right now to the next level. So if you want to learn the real principles and techniques of lighting and how to create cinematic images using your lighting, I want to invite you to check out my Lighting Secrets course, which is down in the description down below. Inside, you'll learn not just what types of gear you should use and what types of light you should use in different scenarios, but you'll also learn how to use the lights to create different looks. I go through the entire process and my methodology and techniques and my principles around how to light any scene. So no matter what scene you go into, you know exactly how to do it. And then I also show behind the scenes of tons of different lighting setups so that you can see how to create different types of looks in your images using just your lighting. Lighting is by far the most powerful tool that you have at your disposal as a filmmaker, and this course will show you exactly how to do it right. So once again, if you're interested, go ahead and check it out in the link down below. I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you have any questions about this or need anything else, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. I will take a look at those, and we'll see you on the next video.